Am I on mute?
No, I don't know if you're on mute or not. I don't think so. I can't play with this stuff. It's just the way it is.
Such weakness. Okay, so it'll come on. It'll be on the speaker. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Try again. Bring up silent mode.
Lecturer has joined the meeting.
Yeah.
Hi, Sherry.
Hi, Kathy. Hi, everybody. We'll start in just a couple minutes.
Aloha, Sherry.
Oh, you made it. Hi, Vicky.
I made it.
Nice. I do see Kirsten. I do. Hi, Kirsten.
Hey Sherry, how are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Nice to see you. I'm gonna go off camera for a minute while I look at something.
Hi, Kristen. I'm Kathy Wentworth. I'm going to be asking a couple of the questions of you.
Perfect. Nice to see you, Kathy.
Nice to see you too.
Hi, Nancy. Holly's with us.
Hello.
Kathy, Claire. Shannon with a very cute yellow lab looking at us.
That yellow lab is Pumpkin, and she works for Ryan in the heart of San Francisco.
Oh, nice. Is
And
that where you live?
No, Ryan is one of the disability testing engineers for Apple.
Sweet.
Nice.
Yeah, he's an awesome dude too.
Very
Where
cool.
do you live? Where do you live, Shannon?
I used to live just outside of Sacramento, but I have moved to Arizona. So I just finished, just attended the second graduation for Narissa, who I remotely raised while working at Embry-Riddle, which is an aeronautical university in Arizona.
Shannon, are you the one who just came up here like very recently? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I know who you are then. Hello.
Hello.
Highland Owen. Looks like Mark is joining us. Excellent. We still have a minute or two. I want to give people, oh, hi, Jenny. Give people
Claire.
a moment.
He has joined the meeting.
Good afternoon, it's Mark.
Hi, Mark. How are
Mark.
you?
Good, thank you.
Thank you to you and Kirsten for joining. We'll give it another minute or two and then we'll go ahead and get started. It's a balmy 93 here right now.
So hot.
How is it in San Rafael area?
Well, I'm actually joining you from Oregon. It's
Oh, so
very
it's
hot up here.
93.
Yes.
That's funny. Some
It's
sorts.
85 here in Honolulu.
Is it? Wow. Is that about as hot as it gets?
Well, yeah, right now. It might go up to 88 during the summer. But we have the trade winds.
Nice.
Okay.
Hi, Jenny.
No. Okay. I'm gonna give like 30 more seconds and we'll get started. The recording has already started, which I thought I told it not to do that because it ends up meaning I have to edit the video, which I really don't like to do. So I'm not very good at it.
The iPhone has joined the meeting.
Okay, so we'll get started in just a second. If everybody could mute unless you're Mark, Kirsten, Jenny, or Kathy, or myself, that would be great. All right, so welcome everyone. We'll go ahead and get started. I'm Sherry Chauvin, one of the group leaders of GDB HaRT Handlers and Raisers Together, joined by Jenny Collins and Kathy Wentworth. So today we're going to quickly go over, like we usually do, we'll do a little overview, the agenda. We're going to do a couple of announcements, and then we'll introduce anyone who's new to the call. And Jenny will walk us through that. And then we'll go ahead and welcome Mark and Kirsten. Mark will do some sort of little brief overview of the OMI program. And then we'll go ahead and ask some questions of them, and then we'll open it up to member questions. So everyone will have a chance to ask questions if there are any. All right, so I do not have new announcements. I have two I'm going to recycle because they're pretty cool. But so if anybody has any updated information on the alumni reunion in October, I have not heard yet. They're supposed to be sending out like requests for proposal for the meetings and things like that. I've not heard anything else yet, but it is pull up my other screen. Sorry. Okay. Oops. Apologies, trying to get my other screen to come up, but it won't stay up. There we go. Yeah, so the theme is Go Dream Believe, and it's October 16th through the 19th in San Rafael. There's a room block at the Embassy Suites, which the cost is $219 a night for a double occupancy. And then I believe it's $250 for registration. So that information should be coming out, I'm hoping soon. And reminder, it's not just for technically, guide dog alumni, it's for anyone related to GDB. So handlers, raisers, canine buddy, any community member, any volunteer, anybody who wants to come. So, and there are extra costs for excursions. Right now they said they're doing wine and cheese tasting, a walk through Mirror Woods, kayaking, 2-person kayak, tours of campus, mini farmers market, and then there'll be someone to watch dogs when there's an excursion that's not appropriate for the dogs. So if anybody has any more information about when that stuff's coming out, I have not heard anything new since last meeting. And then the other two fun things, I'm just telling you about fun things today. So the California Fun Day is August 9th, and the Oregon Fun Day is August 16th. And Jenny, do you remember what the theme is? I heard you've been working on a costume already.
Yeah, I can't remember the exact wording, but it's like old school board games and games we used to play like years ago.
Yeah, it's called Let's Play Fun Day.
There you go.
classics such as Monopoly, Backgammon, Sorry, Clue, Trivial Pursuit, and more. And knowing Jenny, she's not going to reveal the costume, but it's going to be epic, I'm sure.
Lower your expectations.
Oh, no.
Always epic, Jenny, you know that.
You guys.
All right, Jenny, take it away on new members.
All right. So we like to give people who haven't called in before an opportunity to introduce themselves. We try to keep this a little bit organized, but forgive us, it might get a little chaotic. But if you haven't called in the past, we would love you to introduce yourself, talk about your name, where you live, your affiliation with GDB, how many dogs you've raised, handled, or fostered, and the name of the dog you currently have. So you can do that by taking yourself off mute, or if you're more comfortable, you can send a chat message. You can use the reaction tool of raise your hand. So however works best for you, we'll open it up to brand new to the heart call. First heart call. Anybody?
This is Michelle McGrew.
Hi, Michelle.
I'm in Knoxville, Tennessee. I used to live in the Bay Area. And I work with guide, sorry. I have my 6th guide dog, and her name is Janie, and she's a yellow lab.
Awesome. Thanks for
Welcome.
calling in. Welcome to the group. Anybody
you.
else out there?
Hey. Missy, that's enough. That's enough.
Oh, remember to put yourself on mute if you're not introducing yourself. Oh, you're good.
It's okay.
Sounds good.
Hopefully Missy's behaving now.
All good. Well, it sounds like Michelle
Hi.
might have been our only newbie.
I'm new.
Good. Who are you?
I'm Jenna. I live in Spanaway, Washington. I'm a puppy raiser. So far, I've only raised one puppy, and I don't currently have a dog, but my puppy did just finish training and is a guide dog now.
Wow,
Oh,
congratulations.
congratulations. Who is it?
By the way, don't say only one.
That's
Say
right.
one.
That's right.
His name is Fiddler, and he did in-home training, so I will be at the graduation this weekend, but he won't be, unfortunately.
Well, congratulations. That's amazing.
That's
you.
amazing.
Awesome. Great job. And thanks for joining us, Jenna. Anybody else?
I'm new-ish. I'm sorry.
Oh, great.
Sorry.
Maybe Monica, you gonna go first?
Sure. I'm new. I'm a raiser in Houston and currently have Joan, my 3rd puppy to raise.
Nice.
Thanks for joining.
Yeah.
And one other,
Yeah.
who else is out there?
I'm Claire. I've been to one other meeting, and it's been a while. So I'm in Austin, Texas, and I am on my 2nd puppy. I have Ty, who's currently in Oregon right now, in phase 0, and I currently have Pine.
Oh,
Welcome, Claire.
Texas is in the house tonight. I love it.
Good stuff.
Awesome.
Anybody
right. Oh,
else,
sorry.
or can we move on to what we all came for? All right, Cherry, turning it back over to you.
All right. So, as we've already said, we're going to welcome tonight Marc Gillard, who's the director of the Orientation and Mobility Immersion. Actually, he's director of Orientation Mobility, and then runs the OMI program, which is part of O&M department, I guess. And then Kirsten French, who is a graduate of the OMI program and a guide dog handler. So welcome to you both. Thank you both for joining. And maybe just real quick, if you could each introduce yourself, just give a very high overview of you, and then we'll dive more deeply into what you want to tell us about. Marc, we'll start with you.
Okay, thank you. Well, first of all, thanks so much for the invitation. Really excited to be with you all this evening. And I am here in Oregon, which is a little bit unusual. I am usually based at our California campus, But as for reasons I'll go into, I'm up here in Oregon because we have an orientation and mobility class going on at the campus right now. So my role is to oversee our orientation and mobility immersion program, which has been in effect since 2016. And my background is I'm a certified O&M specialist here in the United States and also a guide dog mobility instructor. I've been at Guide Dogs for the Blind since 2006, but I've been in the field both here and in Australia, where I'm originally from, in case you haven't guessed with the accent. I've been in the field for 33 years now, so quite a long time. And but I've really found my home at Guide Dogs for the Blind in the US and in California with my family. I'm married with 2 boys, Kieran, who's 16, and Lachlan, who's 14. So I look forward to talking to you all about this wonderful program that we have going on at Guide Dogs right now. And big hello to Kirsten too. Good to see you, Kirsten.
Good to see you as well. So my name is Kirsten French, and I am in Vancouver, Washington. I have a small female yellow lab named Knightley. But before I got Knightley, she and I have been together for a little bit over 3 years. I did the OMI program through GDB. A little bit of background with that is I lost my vision very quickly in 2021 and knew that one of the biggest things that was going to be key to professional success, but also for me to regain what I wanted to do personally, as well as knowing that ultimately I wanted to get a guide dog, is that the orientation mobility skills were of utmost importance, and that in looking through a lot of different programs and including state-based programs, what was available, that the OMI program was going to be the best fit, and it very much so was. I'm super excited to chat more about it today.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. All right, Marc, what do you have for us? Tell us a little about your program.
All right, happy to do that. So first of all, what a wonderful group. A lot of different folks here, puppy raisers and graduates and everything else in between. So I'm going to sort of start right at the beginning. So for many, many years, Guide Dogs for the Blind noted that one of the top reasons that people applying for guide dogs were in the beginning unsuccessful, that is, they didn't qualify for training, was due to a lack of orientation and mobility skills, and I guess relatedly, a lack of orientation and mobility training, period, opportunities. And this was recognized, as I said, quite a while ago, so much so that in 2016, so 9 years ago, it was decided to start a pilot program at Guide Dogs designed to provide orientation and mobility training to those first-time guide dog applicants who had a guide dog goal, obviously, but lacked access to orientation and mobility training. And I just say that that's how it started because things have really evolved, which I'll talk about. But that's how it started. So in those days, 2016, we had orientation and mobility instructors at Guide Dogs. Some of them had guide dog mobility instructor qualifications as well. Some of them were standalone O&M specialists who worked perhaps in doing home interviews, for example, which we used to do. But they weren't in a position to kind of be released to provide orientation mobility as a standalone service. So, you know, teaching people long cane skills, etc. So back in those days, my ex-boss, a person well known to many of you, Teresa Stern, who used to be our VP of Alumni Outreach and O&M and is still associated with Guide Dogs. She's retired now, but she's still a part of us. So Teresa had an idea that if Guide Dogs didn't have O&M specialists, maybe we could ask a local blindness agency who did have O&M specialists whether they'd be interested in partnering with us to provide the training on a fee-for-service basis. So in other words, would there be a blindness agency in the San Francisco Bay Area who'd be interested in releasing some of their O&Ms from time to time to train clients who wanted a guide dog? And the agency that she was familiar with was the San Francisco Lighthouse for the Blind and Visually Impaired. And fortunately, they were very interested and said yes. And we then developed a pilot program where 5 of their O&M specialists received training from me in how to work with people who specifically had a guide dog mobility goal. So we developed a curriculum, and we had 5 of those instructors for 1 week. So they were made available from the Lighthouse for 5 days. And in addition, the Lighthouse at that point had recently opened their new headquarters at 1155 Market Street in San Francisco, and they had a residence that we could actually use to have our clients stay over, get all their meals provided, all the usual stuff with residential training. And so we basically got the 5 O&Ms. We trained them up how to, emphasize skills which are very important for guide dog travel, which I'll go into a bit later, as well as their normal teaching of orientation mobility through long cane and all the bits and pieces that go along with O&M. So we conducted a trial program, as I said, and in that first year, back in 2016, we trained a total of 15 clients. And we found that it was very successful, and our board of directors and chief executive decided to make it permanent. And so what that did is, in the years since then, they have continued to work with us and provide 5 O&M specialists to us every 2 months, so for 6 classes per year. So we can provide, or we're able to provide, just using the Lighthouse staff, training for 30 people per year. And that went along quite well, and instructors kind of came into it. There was some natural attrition at the Lighthouse, as happens in a normal workplace where instructors decide to leave and go and work elsewhere. So sometimes we train new people. And with the training of those instructors, I might add, we were teaching them things like the Juno exercise, for example. So that was pretty revolutionary, having an O&M specialist learn the Juno exercise, just like a guide dog mobility apprentice has to do. So I taught them that, and that was an important part of the program to simulate guide dog travel for those folks who were interested. In 2018, so 2 years or so after the Lighthouse joined us, another agency in the Bay Area showed interest in doing the same thing, and that agency was the Earl Baum Center, located in Santa Rosa, just up the road from the San Rafael campus. They were a smaller operation. They only had 2 O&M specialists that they could release, but we decided that's still impactful. They were willing to release them 6 times per year and to train a total of 12 clients, in addition to the 30 clients that the Lighthouse had made available. The big advantage of the Earl Baum Center is that they are kind of a more complete blind rehab facility. So on the campus there, they have independent living skills training, assistive technology training, and a low vision clinic. So we were able to have clients coming into the O&M program, and if they needed some of those other blind rehab aspects that I mentioned, even though we only had 5 days, we would provide as much as we could within the context of their O&M program to give them something of those services. Because what we were finding, and this is probably not surprising to the majority of clients on the call right now, is that as the years went on, we were finding that it's not just O&M that people are lacking. Blind rehab, services for the blind, are not in a good state right now throughout the United States and Canada. And so if people can't go get O&M, it's highly likely that they're not getting other important services like ILS and assistive technology, low vision therapy, etc. So we were at least able to do a bit of that at the Earl Bohm location. So that continued for a couple of years, and then we did have at one time a third agency that partnered with us, and that was Wayfinder Family Services down in Los Angeles. And we trained up a couple of their O&M specialists, and they were able to do 4. Oh, can someone just mute the phone? I think iPhone, if you wouldn't mind muting. Thank you. Yeah, Wayfinder Family Services, they have a campus down in Los Angeles, and we trained up a few of their O&M specialists, and they did 4 classes per year for us, 1 every quarter, with another 2 clients per class for another 8 clients. So you can see how the numbers built up in terms of people accessing this training model, but it was all off campus. It was all outside of GDB. So then there was a really interesting thing that happened to all of us around 2020. And I think we all know what that was: COVID. And that changed everything, obviously, and we're still dealing with that. So like the guide dog program, we had to suspend operations for, a good while in 2020. But at that time, right when the pandemic started in April, we had decided before then to hire our first O&M specialist at Guide Dogs, who was made fully available to the O&M program. And her name is Angela Smith, and she came to us right at the beginning, as I said, of the pandemic. But what Angela allowed us to do is to start to provide orientation mobility training in-home, just like what was going on with the guide dog program. We were able to develop an in-home version of the O&M program for clients 4 hours around, window of 4 hours, or bubble 4 hours from the San Rafael campus. So Angela started doing that, and then soon after, we started to run our first O&M programs at the campus itself. So residential O&M training at Guide Dogs. So that was the birth of doing O&M at Guide Dogs. The pandemic forced us to do it. So luckily for all of us, the pandemic eventually came to an end. We know COVID's still swirling around out there, but our operations were back open. And then another interesting development occurred, and that is we decided that it would be better for various reasons that we ran the programs formerly at the Lighthouse facility in San Francisco, that we ran them out of the GDB campus in San Rafael. And we managed to make an agreement between the two agencies where they would send their instructors to the California campus in San Rafael, the same cadence, so 1 class every 2 months. So that now and still is in place. We have O&M classes going on with 5 O&M clients per class at the California campus 6 times per year, which has been terrific. So I'm sort of giving you a bit of a history of this program because it is interesting the way that, it has increased and how it has come to be at the campuses. And that kind of brings me to why I'm sitting up here in a hotel room in Sandy, Oregon, not far from the boring Oregon campus. It's because things evolved that we're now able to provide O&M training up in Oregon. And the way that started is that we managed to add another instructor, in fact, 2 instructors to O&M services, the department that I run. And that enabled us to have a permanent presence of O&M staff at Oregon. And so we have now been running O&M classes with 2 clients, with 2 instructors up at Oregon since the start of this year, so for the last 6 months. And we actually can run 2 classes per month. So we're training 4 clients, per month out of Oregon, which is terrific. There is another element of our program too, which has expanded. And I see a few people here who are in this category. A big hello to Danette I see out there, Danette Dixon, and that is in-home training. Because what has occurred is since the pandemic finished, Angela, who I mentioned, for various reasons, she decided to return back to her native New Jersey, Philadelphia area, but she wanted to remain a part of guide dogs. So she is now an on-call O&M specialist. And we actually have also added, I think it's another 3 to the pool. We have, I think it was, I'm looking at my screen, Claire. I think Claire is from Austin, Texas. Am I right on that, Claire? Yes? Great. Well, the reason I mention that and single out Claire is because one of our on-call O&M specialists, her name is Charlotte Simpson, and she works in Austin at the Texas Workforce Commission at the Chris Cole Center. So
we were just there as a club not that long ago.
That's right. I know. Yeah. It's great. It's good to see someone from that. So Charlotte also now provides O&M in-home and sometimes also comes across and does O&M classes in one of our residents too. We also added another one to the pool who's based in Chicago. So if anyone is out there from the Midwest, we have Mandy Hetzel, who works as an O&M specialist at Second Sense in Chicago. And Mandy used to work as a guide dog instructor at GDB in San Rafael. She then transitioned to be a RA in the residence. And then she decided she wanted to go off and get her O&M degree. And while she was at it, she decided to get her vision rehab therapy qualification as well. So she went to Northern Illinois University in Illinois, and now she is a triple certified guide dog mobility instructor, O&M specialist, and vision rehab therapist, working for Second Sense, and is now also working for us, doing in-homes and the occasional residential program. And then I mentioned Angela, who's just finished working with Danette. So we have those 3. We also have Stephanie Zabers, who's known to most, if not all, O&M folks here. Stephanie is my sort of right-hand person who is our senior O&M program specialist. And she came across from the California Training Department as a master guide dog instructor probably 2-3 years ago now. And she also not only handles the administrative aspects of the program, but she gets to instruct every now and again as well, including residential and in-home programs. And I should have mentioned this, that the instructors that we actually have in Oregon, Kai Wiese is our O&M program specialist, who Kai used to work or came to us from the Oregon Training Department as a guide dog instructor, completed her orientation mobility studies at Portland State University last year, and then transitioned across full-time to O&M services. And we also have Emily L. Granati, who was a master GDMI in Oregon, who also came across on a part-time basis to work for the O&M department. So that's our staffing as it is right now. Emily actually will be transitioning to an on-call role. She too is heading back east soon, but we hope to fill her position, but she still will be with us on a on-call basis. So other exciting parts of the staffing, before I talk a little bit about the program content, such is the need for O&M services that a couple of years ago, some very important decisions were made. One of those decisions I mentioned, if you remember, back in 2016, the reason we started the program was to equip people who had a guide dog goal with those O&M skills, or to provide those O&M skills that they needed. Well, what happened since is, as people out there got to know our program, we were getting people inquiring about, I just need O&M. Can I get training with you? I don't necessarily want a guide dog, or I don't know if I want a guide dog at this point, but I don't have any options available. And we'd ask them, well, have you contacted your local blindness agency? And they would say, well, yes, I did, but they told me I wasn't eligible. because I don't have a vocational rehabilitation goal. I don't have a job goal. And apparently, if I don't have a job goal, I can't get O&M because I'm over 55 years of age. So there were issues like that we were encountering. We had people saying to us, yeah, I contacted my local agency, but there's a 12-month wait for services. Or they might say something like, yeah, I got 6 hours from my agency, and they came out and some guy gave me a cane and told me to wave it around in front of me in the driveway and then said, good, you're fine. And that's it. That's all I got. Or even others who've taught themselves O&M through YouTube videos. So there's all sorts of stories out there. So what that gave us pause, gave us reason to think that if it's that bad out there, even though our program is only 5 days in duration, let's see if people could benefit. So we actually opened it up to people applying who didn't necessarily have a guide dog goal, as long as they had tried to get services through a local agency and for the reasons that I just said were either denied or ridiculous long wait times or could only get single-digit hours. Then if they satisfied our other eligibility criteria, we were going to bring them in to train. And having done that over the last couple of years, it's now reached the point that probably greater than 50% of all the people that we have come in may not necessarily have a guide dog goal at this point in time, because we're just trying to satisfy a dire community need with the poor state of O&M services throughout the continent, because Canada is also in that category, unfortunately. So that's one big change that occurred. The second big change is with GDB's commitment to this program. And I mentioned there were O&M specialists that we had that were in other departments that weren't, necessarily available to us. So what's happened is since I think 2022, guide dogs now provide an opportunity once per year for 2 guide dog mobility instructors who have an interest in getting their O&M degrees to apply for financial assistance and to be able to go off to school and get their O&M degrees fully funded by guide dogs, including their internships that they need to fulfill at a blindness agency. So the first 2 were Kai Weesey up here in Oregon and Mallory Hofer. Mallory is a training class supervisor at the Oregon campus, and both of them were in the same year at Portland State and have graduated. And Kai is fully onboarded now, as I've said, and now you know the reason I'm here in Oregon, because I'm training Mallory, and she's actually teaching her first class right now this week as an O&M immersion instructor. So Mallory will do 2 teaching classes with me, and then she'll be fully independent. We also have our third recipient who's in school right now, and this name will probably be known to many of you, and that's Field Service Manager Lauren Ross. So Lauren Ross has been out there for many years. She's based in Virginia right now, and she's going to school at UMass Boston, doing her master's, and she will be coming out in mid next year as a fully fledged O&M, and she too will rotate into the immersion program to teach classes on occasion. We've also opened it up to guide dog instructors in the training department who already have their O&M degrees. They will then, if they're interested, be released to get trained up and from time to time rotate into O&M classes. So this is the level of commitment that guide dogs are showing to bolstering our own internal O&M instructor resources and giving people more opportunities to provide or get orientation and mobility training. So I think it's a wonderful sign that GDB are very aware of the barriers that people face. And I should say, not only first timers getting guide dogs, I've mentioned a few already. It's when we were doing the trial program, it became very clear that our own graduates at various stages of their careers with their guide dogs could benefit by coming into this program. And it could be that they may be at the end of the career of their current guide dog and are looking at re-qualifying for a successor guide dog and need help actually achieving those independent O&M skills without their dog to be ready to satisfy the eligibility requirements to re-qualify for a new dog. Or it could be people that are at another stage. They might be midstream with their current guide, and maybe, like many people, they've got a type of vision impairment which is deteriorating their vision, and they need help adjusting to a decrease in vision and learning, maybe for the first time, what we call non-visual travel strategies. So if they haven't had that formative O&M training and have learned to navigate the world without using remaining vision, it can be really difficult to have to then do that all on your own, and even more difficult to do that with a brand new guide dog that doesn't know its way around your home area when you first bring it home. So we have decided to, for many years now, provide this program to experienced active guide dog teams. So before I go any further, I've been talking non-stop, so I just wanted to be assured that I could open up some spaces for questions. So maybe I could take a pause there and see if anyone does have any questions.
Well, I think I just want to start by saying I love the fluidity between GDMIs and then OMI, orientation mobility specialists. I think that's really cool that people have such a comprehensive background when they're teaching OMI. So that's really neat. I want to open up, we kind of have some hand questions I want to ask, and then we'll go ahead and open up to the rest of the team here. And so Kathy, will you start us off with one of those, and then we'll just make sure that we have enough time for Kirsten to answer questions too. And I know, Mark, that you haven't gotten into the nuts and bolts of the actual program, but I think throughout the questions and answers that you'll be able to do that.
Okay.
Hi, Mark. I had the pleasure of seeing you on the Oregon campus a number of times. And in your description tonight, you've described a lot of different places, states, actually countries, Canada, yep. United States, Australia. Is there a curriculum that is consistent across all of those? What does it take really to become an O&M instructor? And if somebody takes a class in Oregon, is it the same as California, as the same as East Coast now, where you have people doing in-home training?
Yes, well, hi, Kathy, first of all, good to see you.
Yes.
So the road to becoming an O&M, there is some variety. There's programs throughout universities and colleges throughout the United States and Canada. They are either a 2-year master's degree, can either be a Master's of Arts or a Master's of Science, usually with a special education kind of, concentration. But there are some, like Portland State University and I believe Cal State LA, that have 1-year programs that you can turn into a master's degree with a few extra credits. So, for example, the Portland State program is a graduate certificate. So you can complete that, but you can do a few extra credits and get your master's as well. There is a program also that's run by the NFB. So you can have people who are blind or visually impaired, and the qualification is an NOMC, National Orientation Mobility Certificate, I believe. And so there is that route as well. So at the end of the day, though, it's kind of almost like becoming a doctor. And what I mean by that is that, for example, a doctor, they do their medical degree and then they've got to do their residencies, and then they've got to be licensed, right, to actually be a doctor in a particular state or with a particular affiliation, a surgeon or what have you. It's the same thing with an orientation mobility specialist. There is a national certification that's required, and that's through the ACVREP, which, hold your hats, the Academy for the Certification of Vision Rehabilitation and Education Professionals. How's that? So you have to sit a certification exam after you do your coursework, pass that exam and also have internship as well to be certified. So you come out with that as a certified O&M specialist, or comms for short. So it doesn't matter if you do the NOMC through the NFB or you do one of the college or university programs. To be qualified to instruct in our program and most programs, you need to be a comms. Having said that, unfortunately, there are certain states and certain jurisdictions that will hire you even though you're not a comms, which I don't like. But I just make the point at GDB, definitely everyone, even Lighthouse for the blind instructors, they need to be a comms. So that's the way that, you know, in a nutshell, you can study and do the requirements. And in terms of variations throughout the country and throughout the world, certainly courses, you know, they vary a little bit from institution to institution. But there is another accrediting body, that's AER, and that's one where a course has to be recognised through them to be kind of certified. So we look at that and make sure that people go to universities who are coming to AER accredited training courses. Kathy, I could spend all night on this question, but I'm conscious of time, so I hope that answers at least part of the question.
Thank you. That was a big answer. I didn't know it would be that complicated. I appreciate the explanation. Thank you.
Jenny, you want to, I know you have to skedaddle soon, but do you have, are you still there?
I was actually
Yeah,
typing
okay.
a message that I have to go. So I'm going to apologize, everybody. I have another commitment, so I'm going to jump off early. But thank you, Mark and Kirsten. This has been great so far. I'm sad I'm missing the end, but I'm glad Sherry is recording so I can hear the rest. So
Yeah.
good night, everybody.
Thanks, Jenny.
Thanks, Jenny.
All right. So Jenny's question I'm going to ask, Mark, is as an O&M instructor, what would you say is the most challenging thing to teach a student and why?
Yeah, I've had to think about this one. It was a really great question. Took me a few moments to consider this, and obviously everyone is different. But I think one of the most challenging things is instilling confidence. So what I mean by that is that not so much a skill, but actually being able to reach someone's inner self and to actually have them believe in themselves to attempt something that you're asking them to do. And that requires obviously a great deal of rapport and trust building in you as an instructor. And, you know, we're meeting people in this program, we're meeting them where they are. And, you know, we could be dealing with people that have had recent sight loss. And even something as simple as asking them to trust us to move across the room with their cane to learn to walk a straight line might be terrifying for them in just walking into space. So unlike guided mobility, where we're seeing people who are more, you know, have, I don't want to say progress, that's a bad word, but maybe have had more exposure to rehabilitation, and some folks don't like that word, let's just say their journey. I don't think, you know, we ask them to do a lot. Obviously, remember your first walk with your new guide dog. That's a sense of trust too in the dog and the instructor, and obviously that takes a lot of courage. But I can tell you, having done this for so long, I see something different when it is we're asking a person who's learning to use the cane to have the confidence to just do a simple, what we consider to be a simple task, to basically just walk into space with nothing in front of them. It really is that, you know, that first step, for want of a better word. I just did it today with a gentleman, and he had a wonderful lesson, but, you know, he's just starting from scratch. So I would say, yeah, to get them to that point, that's the most difficult thing, and everyone is different. There's no magic formula. It takes a lot of experience, and I think understanding, empathy, intuition, knowing how hard to push or how not to push, the right words to say as an instructor to get someone to trust you, to take that first step. That, to me, after all these years I've been doing it, still remains both the most challenging thing and I think the thing that really gives me the most heart and just absolute pleasure in what I do.
Awesome. So you talked about confidence, but what about which is sort of less measurable, but is there an actual skill that students find particularly challenging? And does
Well,
it
that's
matter
where
if they, yeah, go ahead.
that's where it varies a lot. I can give you some. I couldn't pick one particular one. One of the skills that people, particularly learning to use a cane, find difficult is being in step with the cane. That's always one that is problematic. Takes a while to get that coordination. But one that's universal, I think, to both cane users and guide dog users is spatial awareness, and that is teaching strategies, helping someone understand where they are in space and how to get to where they want to go, which is just the definition of orientation. But for certain people, spatial awareness, understanding, for example, if they have veered, and recognizing where they are in space can be very, very challenging. So yeah, sometimes you've got to pull out all the strategies, all the tools in the toolbox to try and find the right one that works for a particular person. And it really is a process of trial and error. There's no sort of magic fix, for everyone that you can just point to. So I think spatial navigation would be my skill, along with being in step with the cane, that I see as two of the most difficult ones.
Before we sort of transition and have Kirsten tell us from her point of view, why don't you give us a really brief description of the actual programs? I know it's a week long, correct? And then can you just tell us kind of the sequence that happens during that week?
Absolutely. So real quick, it's an individualized program for everyone. I want to make that point. We really meet people where they are. We have people coming in with, who knows, very limited, if any, O&M, versus those that might have had some years ago in school and have the basic rudiments of cane travel. So day one, one thing we're going to do is assess someone's cane, the hardware they come in with, as well as the technique that they come in with, and be really focusing in on arc width and rhythm, being in step. We have a bunch of canes that people play around with and tips to understand what works for them. So the correct length, for example, is really important. We're also assessing people's physical, auditory, and visual senses. So we really look very closely at someone's hearing and also their level of residual vision. We, at Guide Dogs, try to maximize the level of residual vision. We don't have a mandatory sleep shade occlusion kind of philosophy, but we do use that as a tool if indicated. So Monday is all about the basics. Straight line projection, straight line walking, both indoor, outdoor, mainly on campus, day one. Day two, we start to go outside, both on campus, but also residential travel with the cane. So we're starting to talk about block travel, curb approach, 90-degree turns, 180-degree turns, left turns, right turns, and just introducing the concept of time distance estimation as well, how far you've walked relative to the time taken to do so. We'll then get up to maybe starting to talk about residential intersection analysis. So this is a big part of the program, how to determine whether a crossing is controlled, what shape or configuration is the crossing, volume of traffic, lanes of traffic, those aspects of determining whether it's safe to cross. That continues in the afternoon, and then we jump into Wednesday, and typically people are ready to go into more of a downtown environment. So we start to talk about light business travel in San Rafael or Gresham, Oregon, where you're familiar with your dogs if you've been through those classes, and light controlled intersections. So we start to look at the principles of making those decisions to cross. And it really goes from there, depending on how complex someone wants to get. We could be taking people to very complicated multi-lane light-controlled intersections. We could be completely deviating, and maybe there's folks who don't want to do that, and they're in a rural area, and they want to do non-paved rural travel. We can even get out different types of cane tips and do hiking trails and things like that with the cane. So it really depends. But the other thing that happens on Wednesday afternoon is for our first time applicants, those that have never had a dog before, we'll introduce the Juno exercise. And that's designed to, number one, have them develop an understanding of what guide dog mobility feels like relative to the cane. But number two, how the O&M skills translate to guide dog travel, so that they understand why they are learning these things, even if they have a guide dog goal and they like to transition to that one day. That then moves us to Thursday. And so on Thursday, for everyone who's doing residential programs, not in-home programs, residential programs, we'll offer someone the opportunity to do a guide dog experiential walk in downtown San Rafael or Gresham. So they will do the Juno exercise again, just like in class, guide dog class, and then they'll have a walk with a dog, quite a complicated one, in downtown San Rafael, almost like your first walk in class, guide dog class. So that gives them a chance to experience what guide dog travel is like for real, but also incorporate all those O&M skills that they've been learning throughout the week thus far into that walk. For those folks who are retrains, who don't have a guide dog need in terms of an experiential need, they'll continue on with the O&M lessons and maybe do other really cool things like GPS apps on the iPhones or something like that, so we can incorporate those sorts of things. And then we jump into Friday, the final day, and we have a very important exit interview process for O&M students, where we don't just sort of talk about the program itself. We do go over the program, making sure we achieved all their goals, but we give them a roadmap for what's next, depending on what they want to do when they go home. So that's a sit down with me, with the O&M specialist and the client, and we'll ask people, what do you think you want to do when you go home? Is it a guide dog? Is it just to continue O&M training? And we'll really work with them to map out a strategy for when they go home. And then most people are departing on, if they fly Saturday, the local folks to Portland or San Francisco, they can go home late Friday afternoon. So in the end, you're getting about 20 to 25 hours of orientation and mobility instruction. And I'll add in one very quick point, and that is we also now at our residential facilities, this will start in Oregon on July the 20th, an optional, I stress optional, free hearing exam with a licensed audiologist. So you can have your hearing checked when you come in that first Sunday and go through that with the audiologist, and you're going to know how your hearing's doing, and so with your instructor when they arrive for training on Monday. So that's another part of the program. So there it is in a very quick nutshell.
That's great. Yeah. Awesome. All right, Kristen, you've been listening in. You ready?
Yes.
Okay, so we've heard Marc talk about some more challenging things for students from his perspective is gaining confidence and coming in step with the cane and spatial awareness. Kind of reflecting back on your time in class, what was most challenging things for you? Can you tell us about that a little bit?
Yeah, I think those are transitions well, because in class of learning about the time distance travel was the first time I was learning about this. That was really challenging. And even leaving class, it was something I was like, I still don't quite understand this, but being able to, yes, not leave with class fully understanding it and fully being able to implement it, but still having all of the tools foundation to, over the next few months, all of a sudden, all of that clicked into place to say, okay, no, I really understand this. This makes a ton of sense. So that when I was getting nightly, all of that had really clicked into place and made a huge sense. I think the other thing for me was I like to travel fast, and was just to be able to slow down and take the time to learn a skill, being patient with myself to know this is a learning process, and then be able to be reflective to look back, okay, here's where I've seen myself progress in a week. Great. So still take that time to learn and put that into practice when I go home.
So I have a question. This is Kathy. When you transferred the skills from your cane to the guide dog nightly, what was one of the toughest transition, taking one of the skills that you learned as the new O&M cane user. Now you're a guide dog user. So what is it that you go, whoa, I didn't expect that one?
Yeah, definitely. It was definitely being able to trust my dog, because I think something that's unique about using a cane is that like you're trusting yourself. Your cane is an inanimate object. It's an incredibly great tool, but it's not thinking for itself. I'm providing all of the skill. I'm getting tactile feedback, but now when switching to a dog, I have to fully trust her, and I have to let her have the space to sit. If I've asked for a left turn, I've asked for a right turn, I have to give her the space that it isn't necessarily yet, and to trust that. And that definitely took a little bit of time. It was really cool when it clicked. And I remember my instructor at one point, I took us right into a poll, and we stopped, and he said, "So whose fault was that?" And I said, "Oh, it was definitely mine." He was like, "Great, just want to make sure you recognize that." And I was like, "Yep, I do." And then we were able to move on, and it started to really click after that.
Always nice when we recognize our own mistakes and grow from them, isn't it? Oh my gosh. Well, that's great. It almost echoes what Mark just said about having confidence in yourself, and you're expanding that to your dog too. That's a tough thing. I mute huge kudos to all of you for the trust that you put in your guide dogs. It's amazing. Sherry? Oh, you're muted.
You saw my lips moving. Thank you. So we just have a few more minutes. I want to open it up, make sure that other people on the call can ask questions of Kirsten and or Mark. Just go ahead and come off mute.
Danette Dixon has a question.
Oh, great. Thanks. Go, Danette.
Hi. Yes, I did just complete home training with the mobility. Back, I think Labor Day was when I completed it, and I guess the hardest, the what it did was it built more confidence in me in my area, because I have recently, probably about a year, lived in this area. And I guess the hardest part was not only is I don't see anything, but there is some hearing loss. And that was the most difficult part, because the traffic around here goes so fast and there's a whole bunch of it. And but the confidence I do have, and something that she does that Angela did teach also, was for about just a couple minutes going up and down stairs, how you would go up and down stairs properly. And so when I was talking to Angela, and when I was done, I thought I was gonna apply for the next guide dog the day after, but her suggestion on day 3, she suggested my plan should be to practice these routes, and that made more sense to me than my thinking. So yeah, I just want to think that this program is amazing, and I appreciate Angela and Kai and Mark. So thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Danette.
Danette.
That's an important point. If I could just make sure to emphasize that again, that definitely the idea is that 5 days, doesn't matter if it's in home or in residence, is not going to equip you as being ready for class. The whole idea is that that's nowhere near long enough to master these skills. It takes weeks. So the idea is to practice. You're going to have good, solid cane techniques and fundamentals. You're going to know street crossing analysis skills. We need you to practice.
Something that Angela said is that because when you cross a parking lot, there's a slope, and then when you get to the other side of the parking lot, there's a different slope. So what she said, as long as I veer out of traffic, I'm good. I'm good. So
good for
there's
you.
no
Stay out of
future
traffic. Vicky,
Okay, Vicky. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Danette.
Vicky Kennedy, you have to unmute yourself. Nope.
Vicky, you had your hand up, but I'm not hearing you. Hang on one second. Let me see if I
Vicky,
can
you have to.
you.
Can you unmute her, Jerry?
I'm trying. I cannot. All I can do is ask her to unmute.
So,
Vicky, we're not hearing you. Let's go ahead and if someone else has a question, we'll come back to Vicky when that gets.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
On average, how often would you say you use a cane to get around, and how often would you say you use your dog to get around?
Yeah, great question. So recently Knightley was just off of work for 3 months, and it happened pretty unexpectedly. And I was so glad that I had good cane skills, good O&M skills to know that I can focus fully on my dog, her getting better, while still getting to work, doing all of these things. And it isn't but O&M, but I don't know if I can stay safely in these spaces. In an average day, I probably use Knightley when she's working fully, probably 80 to 90% of the time, but also always know, hey, my cane's there. I can pull it out, and I'm confident that I have those skills.
this question is for either Mark or for Kirsten. What is one of the things that the sighted people can do to help out somebody with a cane or a guide dog? Because I know I've seen a lot of bad things happen, but can you share what you would like to have happen?
Yeah, I love this. This is Kirsten speaking. I love this question because I think it all falls into the category of just asking someone appropriately of like, hey, do you need help? And giving space for that person to say no, to say yes, and not automatically assuming yes or no. And kind of being just as descriptive as you can, but really having that openness that has, I think it all falls under the category of assuming capability. If you're approaching someone and you're assuming that that person has the capability to say yes or no, to do what they need to do, to tell you what they need. And once we have that mutual respect, we can go on from there.
Right. Great answer. Vicky, did you figure out how to unmute yourself yet? Get Jim in there. Tell him, Jim, come here.
Jim.
Oh, Jim.
No. All right. I think we're at time, but I want to get in maybe one more question. Are there any raisers that have a question or anybody else?
I know Claire in the chat, she had a quick question I can answer, getting in contact with Charlotte Simpson. Charlotte has a guide dog's email address, Claire. It's very easy, csimpson@guidedogs.com. That's C for Charlotte, Simpson with a P at guidedogs.com. Simpson@guidedogs.com.
Got it. Thank you.
All right. Well, Vicky, you'll have to get us your question another way. I'm sure we can figure out how to get it answered for you. Thank you particularly to our guests, Marc and Kirsten, for the time and the knowledge and sharing all of that. We really, really appreciate it. I still have so many more questions, but we're out of time, and I'm just going to have to apply to the program, clearly. So, so thank you to both of you, and also thank you to all the members who called and participated tonight. Really appreciate that, and we'll see you next month. Kathy's got a topic for us for next month she's working on, so we'll go from there.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, everyone.
Thank
Have a
you.
good night.
Bye.
You too.
Bye.
Good night.
Thank you.